Hey everyone, it's John from the Daily Downforce. But if you've watched the shorts or follow us on Twitter, then you know me already. The 2024 NASCAR schedule is expected to drop sometime within the next month, and Steve Phelps has already teased that it will be one of the most aggressive NASCAR schedules of all time. I hope that he means when it comes to new changes and that the schedule isn't actually angry. We've seen some huge changes already in the last few years, from North Wilkesboro to the Chicago street race, so here are 7 bold predictions that we have for the 2024 NASCAR schedule. Number 1, the Chicagoland Speedway will replace the Chicago street race. Yeah, I know, we just mentioned how bold and innovative Chicago was, and we're already talking about replacing it. But for how awesome of a spectacle the event was, it just seems like there's a ton of logistics potentially holding up a sequel. Reportedly, residents of Chicago don't want NASCAR to return to the city, and the new mayoral council doesn't seem too crazy about the idea either. But NASCAR did sign a 3-year agreement with the city of Chicago to have racing in the area. So if the streets don't pan out, why not return to Chicagoland? While not exactly in the heart of Chicago like the street race, Chicagoland is a beloved 1.5-mile track that was just reaching its peak with the worn-out surface before it was suddenly axed from the 2020 schedule and beyond. The next-gen car also races phenomenally on these intermediate tracks as we've seen over the last 2 years, and Chicagoland would be a perfect fit for it. The only major downside is that a return to Chicagoland probably wouldn't draw near as much attention to the sport as the street race did. But who knows if years 2 and 3 on the streets will be as popular as year 1. If the Clash at the Coliseum and other novelty races have shown us anything, then probably not. Number 2, Laguna Seca replaces Auto Club Speedway. We already know Auto Club won't be returning in 2024, and this has left many wondering what race will take over the Southern California market. And Laguna Seca could be the answer to that problem. After all, we just removed a road course from the schedule with Chicago, or street race, but that's virtually the same thing, so this could theoretically be a replacement for 2 different things. The main issue is Laguna Seca may not be able to host a race as early as February, so there might have to be some shuffling of the spring races in order to fit it into the schedule. But as far as Californian tracks go, it's either this or making the Clash at the Coliseum a points race, which may not be the wisest idea. Number 3, and this one seems more or less confirmed at this point, the return of the Brickyard 400. Look, we all know that Indy didn't provide the greatest racing in the world for NASCAR, and even with the next gen providing some better racing at these fast tracks, it probably still wouldn't be that great. But Indianapolis is Indianapolis, and as many drivers have stated, it's just not the same running backwards around the road course. Ticket sales also haven't notably increased for the road course race, and neither have most fans' enthusiasm given the next gen's performance on road courses so far. So it may be time to bite the bullet and go back to the oval. At the very least, we'll have our 4th Crown Jewel event again, which is something that the road course could sadly never be. Number 4, Homestead returns as the finale to replace Phoenix. Unfortunately, this change sits at the polar opposite of the spectrum in terms of how likely it is. It sounds like NASCAR is pretty dialed in on keeping Phoenix as the finale for the foreseeable future. And I get it, Phoenix is a great, dry location, that part is very important. And the facilities and fan experience are apparently unmatched according to the many race fans that have been there. But Homestead has one ace up its sleeve that Phoenix could never hope to have. Compelling racing! Well, maybe if Kyle Larson is eliminated from championship contention at least. There's a good chance he becomes the sport's first 10-time champion if he always qualifies for the Final Four at Homestead. But in the past, Homestead has proven to be a pretty fair track that many different drivers can win at, as only Kyle Busch and Martin Truex have had repeat victories there in the last decade. At Phoenix, we've seen how the short track package greatly benefits some teams while handicapping others. And at Homestead, it never seemed like we had this issue. So while a return in 2024 looks unlikely, let's hope that happens eventually. Hi there, have you been enjoying this video? Great, then why not subscribe for more awesome daily Downforce content? Doing that and leaving a like on this video will help us out a ton, we'd really appreciate it. Number 5, we get the bulldozers out and finally say goodbye to Texas, replacing it with a race at Montreal. Half of this one is already expected to happen, as it's been reported that teams should be looking to get their passports ready for a Canadian Cup race next year. Now, obviously, Montreal in late September or early October may be stretching it as far as temperature and hours of daylight goes. So, why not do a little switcheroo and move Nashville Superspeedway into the playoffs and have Montreal be a midsummer race? That doesn't sound so bad. The only tough part is, it seems unlikely that Texas Motor Speedway is going anywhere. SMI is already talking about doing yet another reconfiguration, which seems to imply that they haven't given up on the Texas market yet. But this is a hopes and dreams video, so we don't have to be 100% realistic. And if one track's gotta go to make room for another, then our vote goes to Texas. Number 6, North Wilkesboro replaces Bristol Dirt as a points race. Now I, like many race fans, would hate to see Bristol become a racetrack we only race at once a year. But it seems like faith in the spring race is sadly diminishing with every passing year. The dirt was a decent short-term solution, but it even seems to have run its course already in the eyes of many drivers, teams, and fans.
Cut the cord. Okay. As Richard Petty said, the dirt takes our sport backwards.
Even from SMI's viewpoint, it may not be worth the ridiculous amounts of cash to cover and uncover Bristol in tons of dirt every year. But if the Easter race has to stick around, North Wilkesboro seems like the prime candidate to land it. It's a newly revitalized short track in a close-by market to Bristol. And if one track can sell loads of tickets on Easter Sunday, you better believe it's North Wilkesboro. They could even make this the throwback race, and it could potentially become our next crown jewel event. After a less than thrilling all-star race, some fans may understandably be resistant to doubling the length of a Wilkesboro race. But again, next-gen short track package is probably responsible for most of that, and, well, Kyle Larson being Kyle Larson. Regardless, this one looks pretty likely to happen, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to North Wilkesboro getting its first points race in nearly 30 years. So where does our all-star race go? Well, that's where number 7 comes in. From one historic North Carolina track to another, we'll go back to Rockingham Speedway. Believe it or not, Rockingham is actually in really good shape right now. And that was even before it got federal money to repave it and make more renovations. That's because the track never sat dormant for more than 4 years, unlike North Wilkesboro, which was abandoned for the better part of 2 decades. Rockingham is a high-banked fast oval would be an ideal track for the next-gen car. Much better suited for an event like the All-Star Race, which is all about the show. Until the short track package gets fixed, I 100% believe the All-Star Race should either be hosted here, or simply return to Charlotte since the racing there has been great the last 2 years. Plus, you kinda need the All-Star Race to stay in the North Carolina area, as it seems like the teams really don't like loading up and traveling across the country for a winner-take-all race. For a majority of the mid-pack teams, it's just a waste of time and money. But similar to Wilkesboro, I doubt anyone would have any qualms about running a race at Rockingham. The only potential obstacle is that Rockingham is independently owned, and the All-Star Race has always been an SMI-sanctioned event. So they'd probably have to lease the speedway similar to how they do it at COTA. There might be some red tape that they need to work around, but it's not impossible by any means. But those are our 7 bold ideas for the 2024 NASCAR schedule. Do you agree? Disagree? Let us know in the comments down below. But don't forget to leave a like in this video and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Check out dailydownforce.com for more awesome NASCAR content.